So today we are going to learn about types of servers. And remember one thing, whenever you install SQL Server software, it will provide, it will, it will provide, uh, what do you call, uh, 4 servers. And all 4 servers will be in the form of checkboxes. Uh, whichever are important for you, install. Which are not important, you can ignore. You can ignore. You can just don't check them. Which are important, check them. Which are not important, don't select. So remember one thing. In these types of servers, one server we have that is called database server. Yes. And who uses this? Everyone. Like everyone in the sense, you can say developers will use, administrators will use, BI developers will use, right? Front-end developers, like, people are working on, programming. Yeah, you can say like this. .NET developers will use, Java developers will use, and Python developers will use, so on. Yeah, database server. I don't say that only, what do you call, administrators work. No, a lot of people are there, whoever want to use database, SQL server database as backend, for them it will be helpful. Yeah. What for it is used? Description. To work with. To work with what databases? And second, it works with SQL commands. Bas. That is the database server specialty. And one more thing also I would say, one more thing. This integration server, reporting server, analysis server, who will use all this? BI developers will use exclusively. Yeah. The people who work on business intelligence tools, they use this integration, reporting, analysis. And especially this integration server is there, no? Integration server. It is to implement ETL process. Yeah. Then to implement export and import activities. Plus, it is a shared server. Yes, that is the work of whom? Integration server. Then reporting server to generate reports with look and feel manner. Yeah. Second, you can say it is an interface to present data or information. Analysis server to implement data warehouse. Yes, these are the different types of servers. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And one more part I'll say. One more thing. Every server is there, no? Database server, integration server, reporting server, analysis server. These all are controlled by services, types of services. Yeah. And you have to remember one thing. What this database server is there, no? It is controlled by something called database engine. Yeah. Database server is controlled by database engine. Yeah. Then this database engine is connected with three services. Oh, database engine is connected with three services. What are they? SQL server service. Second, I'm saying SQL server agent. And third is SQL server full text service. Yes, three database engine. And remaining are there, no? Remaining. Yeah. For this here, I would say integration server, yeah, is controlled by integration service. Then reporting server is controlled by reporting service. Analysis server is controlled by analysis service. Yes. For each server, only for database server, database engine is going to control three services. Okay, remember that. And next part, I would say, next part. What is it? If you are interested to check the services, first I'm talking about OS related, okay? OS. Start, run. Then you have to say services.msc. Click OK. Yeah, this will show you all the services which are installed in operating system along with services of SQL Server. Yeah. Now, you're not interested, you have another option there. Start, run, SQL Server Manager. Remember, if you are working 16.msc, MSC, this is for whom? This is for whom? Yes, I would say this. And when you say click OK, this is for SQL Server 2022. Yes. 2022. Yes. 16 MSc you have to type if you are working with SQL Server 2022. This is exclusive file. Exclusive file which is provided. To check services. To check the services. Services of whom? Yeah, only SQL Server, not any other one. Not any other one. Yes. Comfortable? If you are working, I'll be giving you start. I'll copy now. Better. Copy. Yeah. Some few things for whichever we have, at least you can understand clearly. Yeah. If you are working with, for example, 2019, if you're working with 19, then you should type here 15.msc. Okay. If you're working with 2017, if you're working with 2017, if you're working with, then you should type here SQL Server Manager 14.msc. If you're working with 16, then you should say 13.msc. If you're working with 2014, then you should say SQL Server 12.msc. If you are working with SQL Server 2012, then you should say 11.msc. Like that, the story will go. Yes. Yes. So on, so on. So obviously, as far as my system is concerned, you would find 12.msc. Yes. Now you can see it will open the tool. Exclusively, it will show us only the services of SQL Server. Yeah, other services, never it shows. Never, never, never. Comfortable? Yeah. So these are all what now? Services, exclusive services of SQL Server. Yeah. These are the, you can say like shortcut files, or you can call MSC files related with what? SQL Server. Depends what you are typing. You can, accordingly, you have to use it. Okay. Yeah, if not, you can do like this. If you're not interested with this shortcut key process, then you interact with like this. No? Start. Then you say all. Microsoft SQL Server. Here you have you you have something called release number. Yeah, release number. Yeah, 2014, 2016, whatever it is. And in that you will have one file. SQL Server configuration manager. Yes. You have to click on that tool. Yeah, I just here I'll write click. If you're working with 2016, then you have to everywhere the same tool name will be same, but the way the tool gets opened, that numbers are important. Yeah. Indirectly, whenever I click on this tool, SQL Server Configuration Manager, internal, these files only will run. Yeah, depends which configuration manager you're clicking. If you're clicking for 2022, then that file will open indirectly. Background, that file will open. Okay. Yeah, that is one part over. Chalo, next. Now what remember? Something very important. High of SQL Server in a machine. Yeah. First and foremost thing, listen carefully. When I'm saying hierarchy of SQL Server, what is the meaning of hierarchy of SQL Server? So the meaning of hierarchy of SQL Server is, the hierarchy of SQL Server means Here, hierarchy of SQL Server in a machine. Hierarchy of SQL Server in the sense how SQL Server logically plus systematically arrange objects in memory. That is what we are going to discuss here. Not about physical location. We are not going to learn now how physically data is arranged in memory. That part we are not discussing here. Are you following what I'm saying here? Hierarchy of SQL Server means, here I'm talking about hierarchy of SQL Server means how SQL Server logically and systematically arranges objects. Okay, in database. Yeah, how it will arrange, or in a machine, anything you say. Arranges objects in machine, anything is fine. Yeah, that is a meaning. But does it explains you about physical arrangement of data? No. Physical arrangement is talking about arrangement of data physically. That is nothing but in hard disk. Arranging data physically is nothing but arranging data in hard disk. That is the meaning of hierarchy of SQL Server. And what I would do now, already in one of my batches, I have come up with this architecture. Already I have come up with it in our regular batch. Okay. So that I'll just show you and explain, so that again drawing may become lengthy process. You understand every sentence, every point that which I am going to explain in it. So a lot of other points will be there in the surroundings of this picture. We'll talk about them later. But first, let me open that. Paint. File. Open. Batches. Online sessions. 9 p.m. Hierarchy. Yes. Listen carefully. Every point I'll cover, every point. Then what did I say in this? But it is not possible to complete the total part. At least we'll figure out, so that maximum things are discussed here. Listen carefully. First point. Your system. Vishal, you're hearing me? Am I audible to you? Vishal? Vishal, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, yeah, audible.
Yeah, Vishal. Yeah, okay, right. You're following me, right? You're following me what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay, chalo, right. So now, what I'm saying is hierarchy of SQL Server in a machine. First, I said like your system contains the base layer as hardware. On this hardware, we have something called Windows OS. Windows OS version doesn't matter. 10, 11, any version. And on that Windows operating, we are going to install SQL Server software. On Windows operating system, we are going to install SQL Server software. That installation of SQL Server software is what you call instance. Installation of SQL Server software is what you call instance. And that instance, remember, you can install in one machine for 50 times. 50. That is the limit which Microsoft has set for the installation of SQL Server software in a machine. 50 times. And in that 50 times, first time when you install, it is called default instance. 49 times when you install, you call them as named instances. First time is called default instance. 49 times you call named instances. And remember, for default instance, automatically instance name is set automatically, and the name is set as MS SQL Server. The name is set as what? MS SQL Server. And remaining, you see, for instance names of named instances, your wish. Any name you can give. Server 1, Server 2, Server 3, Shareef, Vishal, DURGASOFT, right? Whatever name. It will ask you, it will activate that text box where to input your instance name. Yeah. Means if you are installing SQL servers for multiple times, for indirectly you can say for each installation you are providing one name. That name what you're providing is your instance name. The name what you're providing is your instance name. And then one more interesting thing, since that we are installing SQL Server software, here server name also it provides server name. How it will provide? Obviously, we are installing SQL Server on a single machine. So that is, we are installing SQL Server software as local server it is, not the network server. Yeah, SQL Server is made available in three types of servers: local server, network server, remote server. Local server is single system. Network server is two systems physically connected via cable. And remote server is connecting with SQL Server via internet. Three servers. So ours is what now? Local server. So what is my local server? Whatever is my system name. How do you know that system name? Open command prompt, write host name. You find my name, Ahmed. That itself is my server name. If you also type your command prompt, type host name. If you find the name with whatever you gave that name, or usually whenever you purchase a laptop, the by default system name always starts like this: desktop hyphen something something LQT some number, like this it will be something like this system name default. In my system also the same it was. I changed to Ahmed. I changed for my laptop. I have changed to Ahmed. Okay, remember that system name, that is server name. That system name is server name. Why system name? Because local server it is. And what is the server name of named instance? Simple. System name slash instance name. System name slash instance name. And one more interesting thing that I would highlight here, one more interesting thing, and that point is, especially when you're talking about installation. I said, you remember, I said that you have four servers, four servers. In that four servers, for us only three important now. Three. Yeah. Which three? Here. Remember this. Whenever you find a folder by name like this, MSSQL12. Yeah, this is version number. Okay. Just now I gave these numbers, you remember here. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah. MSSQL12, which means here I have installed database server. In this folder, SQL Server software will install database server in it. Yeah. I repeat again. MSSQL is a folder which is created to install database server. MSRS is a folder which will install reporting server. MSAS is a folder which will install analysis server. Yeah. And this is the default instance name. It means by the folder names also, we can understand which servers are installed, which servers are not installed. And best example you see here, See, how many times MS SQL is there? One time. Here MS SQL three times. Three times. It means total database server has been installed for 4 times. Database server has been installed for 4 times. Now again you see one more point. MSRS, here I have once. MSRS, here I have once. Means how many times reporting server you have installed? 2 times. Reporting server you have installed 2 times. Database server you have installed 4 times. How many times analysis server you have installed? Here, default instance 1 time, named instance 1 time. Means I have installed analysis server only for twice. Yeah. So this is one way I'm saying. I'm not asking you to check the number of instance only by going to folder. This is one way. Lot of other ways are there where as a DBA, you can check. You can check what number of instances plus number of servers installed in your server machine. Yeah. Now, going forward, when you see here data, and you can see here, what did I say? Instance. What is instance? Definition of instance is separate copy of same or different software product is called instance. Separate copy of same or different software product is called instance. And one more thing, every instance will have their own binaries and folders. Every instance will have their own binaries and folders. Yes. That is how you define what now? Instance. Separate copy of same or different software product. Achha. And one more thing. In this SQL Server software, whenever you find that you will have database. Yes. And limit for database is each instance can have 32,767 databases. It is quite a very huge number, you know. When it comes to Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft has set a limit to 32,767. And one more interesting thing here, limit is 32,767. Might be if you exceed 32,767, you may come across with some memory related issues. It means till 32,767, perfectly your instance can manage databases. If it is exceeding that limit, then it may create some issues, some problems it may create towards memory. That is the reason Microsoft has set some limit for that. That is database. And databases, that working with SQL Server databases is one separate module for my classes. Coming classes, we will understand them in detail. And you would find system databases, sample databases, business databases. 3 types of databases you have. And database internal contains something called schema. Database internal contains schema. And you have 2 types of schemas. Built-in schemas, user-defined schemas. What is a schema? Simple definition of a schema is schema works like a folder. See, don't change my sentence. I didn't say schema is a folder. I very clearly mentioned the words as schema works like a folder. If I say schema is a folder, not only for you, even for me, it would be a bit difficult to justify that sentence when it comes to practicals. That is the reason I very clearly specified, mentioned that schema works like a folder. And how many types of schemas you have? Built-in schemas, user-defined schemas. And in schema, what do we have? Objects. How many objects you can create? 32,767 objects. And I gave the list there. Tables, views, synonyms, sequences, indices, constraints, procedures, functions, triggers. These all are part of objects. And keeping this picture in view, this picture, and this is what my experience says, until and unless you're not aware of this hierarchy, how internal SQL Server will arrange objects, it is something which is, I can say, next to impossible to understand querying process of SQL Server. Yeah. That is the reason in every batch of mine related with administration plus development, both, I 100% cover this architecture so that if you are new to the environment, then also you'll be in a position to understand the systematic way of the systematic arrangement of, objects. Yeah. And there I mentioned, you can see a purple color box I have drawn. I mentioned 4 sentences. OS is collection of instances. Instance is collection of databases. Database is collection of schemas. Schema is collection of objects. Yes. And then I mentioned here, why are we going for multiple instances? What are the benefits or what are the advantages of installing multiple instances of SQL Server? I mentioned one point. It reduces cost. You can have production, development, testing environment separately. Allows to test the new versions without upgrading the existing instance. Allowed to test, I mean to say. Test what? New versions. And allows to maintain logins with the different permissions and different instances. These are benefits that you would find of installing multiple instances in a machine. Yeah, if you are unable to, if your company is just a startup and they already purchased, what do you call, one server, licensed one, and then if they want to have multiple use if they are using SQL Server for multiple purposes, like they are using SQL Server as backend for .NET developers, they are using SQL Server even for BI developers, they are using SQL Server. Even for SQL Server developers, they are using SQL Server as backend for Python developers. Then they cannot manage all those with one instance. That may create a burden on the server. That may create some concurrency issues when multiple teams are working on that one instance. For that reason, what company will do? They will install multiple instances and they make each instance dedicate to one team. They'll install one once and they say that this instance will be dedicated instance for .NET developers. Then they install one more time. They say that this instance will be dedicated for Java developers. Like that, you can install 15 instances. That is the limit we have. And it depends, you should have that good hard disk capacity as well, because for one installation, the memory, what it takes could be around 8 GB it takes. 8 GB. 50 instances means almost you should have around 400 GB memory you need. 400 GB memory you need. You understand? If you are going with multiple 50 instances. That too with limited things, then no problem. If you're going with full software, 8 GB, more than 8 GB only it requires to install complete SQL Server software. This is what the topic was, hierarchy of SQL Server in a machine. Yeah, you have anything to ask me on this? Go ahead, please. We'll just stop the session here.